News Desk at the Columbus Dispatch presents the BuckeyeXtra Basketball Podcast. With your host, Ohio State basketball beat writer Adam Jardy.
Brady Batiste says, "Give me the rock." Here it goes. Up and away. Slam jam bam, and now he does a little dance.
Now, the BuckeyeXtra Basketball Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Adam Jardy from the Columbus Dispatch. Today is Sunday, January 11th, 2026. It's my official duty to welcome you into episode 522 of the BuckeyeXtra Men's Basketball Podcast. Welcome to Jubilation City. Welcome to Alaska Airlines Arena, which in my head I've called American Airlines Arena 9,000 times. I hope I haven't accidentally typed that. But I'm here. The arena is mostly empty. The ambient noise you hear behind me is the cleaning crew here, putting the finishing touches on this game. Final tonight, the Washington Huskies 81, the Ohio State Buckeyes 74. The Buckeyes led this game for almost the entirety of the first half and for a couple of minutes into the second half, and then lost a key player to injury amid a 14-0 run for the Huskies, and then trailed for the duration. Ohio State was unable to dig its way back from a 7-point deficit is what it became there during that run. Washington would lead by as many as 8. So Ohio State had the larger lead in this game. Buckeyes were up 9 with 11:51 to go in the first half. Ohio State led this game for 19 minutes and 13 seconds and trailed for 18 minutes and 13 seconds, but ultimately couldn't win. And there's a lot of different reasons I think that come into play here. There's some interesting stuff I feel like I gleaned from talking to Jake Diebler, Bruce Thornton, and Amari Bynum, and I'm going to do my best to get into all of that here and kind of wrap this up and put a bow on this Pacific Northwest trip. Running down the box score, Ohio State in this game took 7 more shots than the Huskies, actually out-rebounded Washington 39-29. It was up 20-10 in rebounding at halftime. Ohio State built its first half lead and helped keep the Huskies at bay, in part because the Buckeyes hit the glass and rebounded, I felt like, with a high degree of urgency. And then as the game went on, the Buckeyes just really struggled to make shots. Shot 48.4% in the first half, 15 of 31. That dipped to 37.5% in the second half, 12 of 32. So Ohio State goes 27 of 63 from the field, 7 of 22 from 3. That is 31.8%. Washington was 6 of 18 from 3, and it felt like every one of those threes was a big one. The Huskies shot 28 of 56 from the floor, so that's an even 50%. Even I can do that math. And also shot 19 of 23 from the free throw line. So that was a difference as well. And some of that was Ohio State was fouling late. But the Washington comes back after having dropped 2 in a row on the road, playing at Indiana and at Purdue. The later of those 2 games played on Wednesday, and Washington comes back, reacclimates to the Pacific Coast, and improves to 10-6 overall, and I don't have my reading glasses on, so I apologize, people. 10-6 overall, 2-3 in the Big Ten, as Ohio State drops to 11-5 overall and 3-3 in the Big Ten. Washington was shorthanded in this game, came into the game shorthanded. Second leading scorer, Wesley Yates III, missed his 5th straight game with a wrist injury. He had wrist surgery, and after sustaining an injury in December 19th game at Seattle, a game that the Huskies lost 70-66. And then Desmond Claude also missed the game due to a personal situation. He was not on the availability report. Those two averaged 14.9 and 14.5 points and are Washington's 2nd and 4th leading scorers, respectively. Yates, 3.9 rebounds per game. Claude, 2.6 rebounds per game. 2 significant rotation pieces for the Huskies, and Washington was still able to flip the game and take control in the second half. I couldn't help but think at halftime, as Ohio State was winning so many 50-50 balls, similar to the way it beat Oregon just a couple days ago, and the way the Buckeyes were able to be as effective as they were on the glass. At halftime, they retired a jersey. Christian Velp, Washington's all-time leading scorer, played from 1983 to 87, scored 2,000 plus points, passed away a couple years ago, and his daughter gave an incredibly emotional halftime speech about how she did mention how it was overdue, but about how like her dad was more than just a basketball player and how meaningful this was to now see him like recognized and how much they miss him. And it was truly like touching, meaningful stuff. And it did shift the vibes in here. And I thought to myself at that moment, like, it reminded me of a couple years ago when Ohio State went to Maryland and was favored. And this was a couple days after Russia invaded the Ukraine, and one of Maryland's players was from the Ukraine, and he came out like for the anthem, and he had the Ukrainian flag wrapped around his neck. And I thought to myself, this obviously there's a bigger picture outside of sports, and I don't mean to minimize any of that, but I kind of thought in that moment, like, this might not be Ohio State's night. Like, you just kind of could feel it. And I felt that shift a little bit here in the arena when they raised that number 40 jersey to the banner, or jersey to the rafters. But having said that, it didn't have anything to do with Ohio State chucking up some bad shots and Ohio State suddenly unable to get a defensive stop and Ohio State failing to crash the glass. And then certainly Ohio State losing Christoph Tilly. And let's go over that real quickly here. Tilly, Ohio State's starting center, primary offensive cog, I feel has been playing pretty well of late. He left the game with 15:47 to go, and this is as Washington's flipping the game. He took quite a few significant blows to the body during this game, was shaken up once or twice, and then ultimately leaves during the timeout when it's 50-45. Ohio State called the timeout to try and stop the bleeding here. And Tilly did not return to the bench. I did see him leave the arena under his own power. When I talked to Jake Diebler after the game, he simply said, like, they don't know. They don't know what, and there'll be more evaluation and kind of see where he is going forward. What any of this means for Ohio State's next game, which the Buckeyes will have several days off here before they host UCLA now on Saturday, on January 17th, remains to be seen. But obviously, that was a significant blow for Ohio State. You know, he finishes this game with 8 points on 7 shots. He had 4 rebounds, was able to get to the rim a couple of times, did get some stuff rejected. And certainly the physicality of this game, you know, we've seen that impact Christoph Tilly, but not in the way, like, I've had people compare him to Aaron Bradshaw, and I find that unfair on a lot of levels. And one of them is that, yeah, Christoph Tilly is not as physically imposing as, well, let's see, how big is Frank listed here? Frank Kepnong, one of Washington's big men. He's 6'11". They don't have the weight on here on Washington's official game notes. He's a big dude, and certainly Christoph Tilly isn't. He's 7 foot, 240. So he's not built like a truck necessarily, but I feel like he's been able to utilize his skill set to make up for what he might not have in just sheer physical mass. And I know that's not always everyone's cup of tea, and it hasn't been perfect. And there've been a couple times where he should have just gone up and put the ball in the basket instead of fading away. And I get all of that, but I think overall he has been an important, consistent, above average, occasional, bordering on well above average player for Ohio State at the center position, and he's helped them significantly at stretches. I've thought he's been a good addition and has been an upgrade at the center position to anything that we've seen the last couple of years. So his loss, I felt, was significant. And the result is you end up having Ivan Yagovin blow past his career high for minutes played. He ends up playing 24 minutes and 36 seconds. And Ivan did fine. He had 4 points. He had 6 rebounds. He had 2 assists. He turned it over twice. I think one of those turnovers might get credited to John Mobley Jr. He did block a shot. He got tied up twice on like rebounds where he's the big guy. Like you would think, like, you know, take care of it. You can see like the limitations that are there, but also the size and the improvement. He's clearly come a long way. But losing Christoph Tilly in this game was a significant blow to an Ohio State team that is already significantly shorthanded in the front court without Brandon Knoll. And you can say what you want about Brandon Knoll and the up and down production he's had this season, but he is also a 6'8", 240-pound, experienced big man who was able to score 29 points as a small ball 5 against Northwestern, who had 14 huge points in the first half at Rutgers, and has given this team significant stretches of important contributions. Now, that's wasn't consistent before the injury. We still don't know if we'll see him again this season or not, but his absence certainly impacts what Ohio State can do. And now with Christoph Tilly having to miss the final roughly 16 minutes of this game, that was a significant blow to Ohio State. So you have Ivan Yagovin playing a lot. Amari Bynum played the most he's played in a 40-minute game. He logged significant minutes as a small ball 5. He had 20, the career high for him. It took him 19 shots. He had a couple shots rejected, brought some physicality and certainly got Ohio State off to a strong start. But the injury to Tilly, we'll find out hopefully as the week goes on. We'll find out some more. I did put out a clarification on the social media channels that when I was initially alerted to the Tilly injury, I said that I had been told Tilly, I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but it was like that it was a back injury, but the meaning was that he was being evaluated in the back, not for a back injury. So I guess that doesn't mean it's not necessarily a back injury. But he was walking out under his own power, like I said, when I saw him leaving the locker room tonight. So just clarification there, pointing that out, that when I heard from a team spokesman about the injury, the spokesman was not saying it was a back injury, but he was being evaluated in the back. So let's dive a little more into this game here and where the game kind of flipped. Before we do, I want to remind you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. If you subscribe, you'll automatically get the newest ones just as soon as our crack web team can grab them and get them published for you. I'm not sure who will be handling this one, so I'll just thank them all in advance. But while you're subscribing or downloading, please leave a review, please click 5 stars, and please consider telling a friend. Thanks to everyone who's taken the time to do all those things. And shouts to Evan. Evan, it was super cool to meet you. I was standing by the tunnel where Ohio State ran out onto the court before the game to take my traditional video, the team running out. And Evan saw me and came down and said hi. And he apologized for not being from Alaska, but it was truly to be as far from home as I have been in a long time and have someone come up to me and talk to me for a minute and tell me how much they enjoy the podcast. Like, I cannot put into words like how much that meant. So thank you, Evan, for the kind words. It was really cool to meet you. And it does still blow my mind that people, even this far away, find the content that we're producing here at the Dispatch and appreciate it. And thank you. Like I said, that meant a lot. So, all right, let's get into some of these X's and O's quick before I get into some of the things that some of the guys told me after the game. So the game flips early in the second half. Ohio State is ahead 45-38. They've weathered a push during the first half where Washington tied it at 36. And then the Buckeyes came out during the second half and 5 straight points, 5-point lead. And then it's still 45-38 after Amari Bynum misses a 3-pointer. Tilly gets the rebound, but then and then gets fouled on the drive, hits the 2 free throws, 18-10 to go. Ohio State's up 7. On the very next possession, they get the ball to number 6, Hans Steinbach, who was awesome. Really good player. Gave Ohio State fits in the first half. He finished with 21 and 9. Did have 3 turnovers, but they missed all 3 of his 3-pointers. But I think I voted him for Big Ten Freshman of the Year in the preseason poll. And man, he is a good player. So he draws a 3-point play. He hits the free throw. It's 45-41. And then on the next possession, John Mobley Jr. is driving the ball. He's got it on like the left mid-range, like an elbow extended, and he tries to throw a lob pass into the paint, but it was easily nabbed by Steinbach, who then pushes it up court. They get it to Bryson Tucker. He scores in transition. Ohio State's now down, or only leading by 2. Bruce Thornton misses a 3-pointer, and Washington comes up and has a great possession where the ball gets swung around, ends up in the right corner. It gets to Kwamari Peterson, who buries the 3-pointer. Huskies have the lead, and the crowd is roaring for really the first time, really all game. You could feel like the halftime energy starting to kick in here at this point. So Ohio State's down 46-45. John Mobley takes a quick 3-pointer, contested, doesn't fall. Rough game for Mobley. Washington comes down and Zoom Diallo, who I thought just killed Ohio State. He finished with 22. He was 7 of 14 from the floor, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, 3 assists, no turnovers. But he scores on a drive. It's a 3-point deficit for Ohio State. Amari Bynum gets a 3-pointer from the left corner, and it's short. And it gets back to Diallo. He scores on another drive. It's 50-45 at this point. This is where Ohio State calls timeout. Christoph Tilly subs out of the game. He leaves the bench. Out of the timeout, Bruce Thornton gets a 3-pointer that they draw up, and it was short. Hits the front of the rim. This is where I started to feel like fatigue was impacting Ohio State a bit. And they come down. They do force a miss. But then Ivan Njegovan gets the ball in the paint, gets called for a travel that negates what he threw the ball in, but they called the travel before he got the shot up. Takes us to the under 16 media timeout, 14-17 to go. And then the next possession, you had 2 offensive rebounds for the Huskies, finished by a putback from the big guy, Kepnang, who finished with 11 points. Okay. I didn't realize this until now. Frank Kepnang finished with 11 points on 2 of 3 shooting. Big guy got to the line and went 7 of 8. He took a team-high 8 free throws. He had the same number of free throws attempted and made as Bruce Thornton. So at this point, it's 52-45. And Ohio State chased the game from here on out. And there was a sequence when Ohio State had an opportunity. And it came with, how much time was left here? Probably about 8-9 minutes left. I didn't write down the timing on some of this here, but Ohio State was down 60-54 after one of the rare free throw misses. J.J. Mandequilt, who 1 of 4 from the free throw line for the Huskies. 8:51 to go. He hits 1, so it's 60-54. Bynum misses. Ball goes out of bounds, and then Steinbach with a miss. Bruce Thornton hits a 3 on the left wing. So now Ohio State's within 3, 60-57. And then the Buckeyes withstand 2 misses from the Huskies, and Ivan Njegovan gets the ball from Gabe Cupps and finishes, and it's a 1-point game. And this is where you're thinking, like, okay, they're getting some contributions from some unheralded players, guys who have not statistically contributed much this season. Maybe they're starting to steady things a little bit. We still don't know about like if Tilly will return or not at this point. And then on the very next possession, like I said, it seemed like every 3-pointer was a big one. Kwamari Peterson banks in a 3-pointer. Like, Ohio State was feeling itself. The defense looked like it was starting to find a gear, and this was not a good 3-point attempt. Sometimes those still go in. And this one went in. He banked it in, and to me, that was the moment. Like, the game was just, if they weren't already essentially dead and buried, that was it. And then the last gasp came in the final 3 minutes, where down 8, Thornton scores to cut it to 6. And then Thornton comes up with a steal. Thornton draws a foul, hits both ends of the 1-and-1 with 3:15 to go. Ohio State's within 4. And here, Ohio State gets the ball and forces a turnover. They throw a press, and Amari Bynum manages to deflect. The first pass goes into the right corner. He deflects the pass back to the inbounder, gets to John Mobley Jr., and he very quickly goes to the basket and just throws up a shot like there's only about 2 seconds left in the game. It doesn't fall, and not only does it not fall, but he rushed it so much, and so much of the attention then was coming toward the basket that left Kepnang wide open down the court, and the Huskies got the ball very quickly up court. He throws down the dunk. What could have been a 2-point game, a 1-point game, whatever, is now a 6-point deficit. It was over at this point. You could definitively start writing in the voice of Ohio State has lost at that moment in the game. Rough night for Mobley. When I talked to Diebler about him, he just said he's been better at some of these things, but he did some of the stuff he was doing earlier in the season. He allowed the pressure to speed him up. He didn't have the best decision-making night. I felt like Washington made it very difficult for him to get his shot off. He finished with 3 points, which ties his season low. The other time he had 3 points was at Pitt when he only played a half. 1 of 5 from the floor. He had 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He had 3 turnovers. I think he might end up being credited with 4 because I think one of the turnovers credited to Njegovan should probably go to Mobley. But rough game for him. And on a night when you lose Tilly to injury and you get 28 from Bruce Thornton, 20 from Amari Bynum, and Devin Royal was battling some sort of injury. I saw him consistently getting treatment during the game. He was able to play 30 minutes and 53 seconds, and he finished with 11 and 8. Ohio State's big three, if you will, got 28, 11, and 3, and it just wasn't enough. Not that this is John Mobley's loss. Certainly there's a lot of factors that go into this defeat, but this is the latest. I was trying to figure out how to get at this notion, this emotion, this thought that, when I talked to Bruce Thornton after the game, I said, like, what did you feel proved to be the difference? Like, what enabled them to flip the game and go from being down 7 to up 7, and then you guys are just kind of chasing it from there on out? And he said there were 3 things: offensive rebounding, turnovers, shot selection. He said little things, correctable things, like stuff we work on, but like little things. And I just said, like, are you tired of that? Like, I don't know how many times in 4 years of covering Bruce Thornton that I've interviewed him after a game, oftentimes on the road, oftentimes when I'm the only reporter there, and I'm asking him, like, you guys came up just short, or, a couple years ago, you guys got blown out again, but like, what needs to change? And it's like, it's the little things. It's being connected, and I just said, like, are you tired of that? And he said, most definitely. He said, any coach or any parent, coach, anybody harping on the same thing over and over again does get annoying. He said it does get tiring at times, but it separates winning from losing. We've got to keep harping on them because we're trying to win. We're trying to change things here at Ohio State. We've got to keep pushing forward, and the only thing we can do is get better in practice. So when I asked Thornton about that stretch, he pointed to rebounding, shot selection, turnovers, all those things we keep talking about. He said, I think we took 4 threes in that stretch without a paint touch. Stuff like that definitely hinders you, especially the success rate we had when we were going downhill. And I talked on the podcast about this. I wrote about this, but when I talked to Devin Royal after the Oregon win, he had very little interest in, like, yeah, we did great. We're better. He said, like, we got to do it again. We've got to be consistent. And Bruce said again, he said, I feel like we're right there, but we've got to be consistent with it. We can't be one-hit wonders. We got to figure out how to do it each and every night, no matter the circumstances or who goes in and out of the lineup. So I leaned pretty heavily into Bruce Thornton in my post-game takeaways because I just feel like I hear it from the fans. I see it on social media. I get the emails when I talk to people wherever. It's that, when are they going to figure it out? When is this going to flip? Because both things are true. This team does feel like it is close. Like this team is not far off from beating really talented teams and cementing an NCAA tournament resume. Like, yes, those things do feel like they are very close. But fairly or unfairly, the fact that it has now been several years of this conversation is wearing down fans. And I understand that. And I hear that. And it's like I said earlier this season, that, like, you're entitled to feel however you feel about this team and about this program until it makes you feel otherwise. If you think, like, okay, they're on their way, they're going to get there, they're really close, then yeah, I can see that. And if you think, like, they just can't get over the hump, and I don't believe that they're going to do that because I need to see it, then I understand where you're coming from there too. Because I think that's where so much of this fan base is. And this, I will say, like, some of the messages that I see from people where they're complaining about this or that, like, clearly don't even watch the game or don't know anything about, like, the state of the league or who's good and who's not. Like, Washington's a really good team. I know they've, and this is not me putting scarlet colored glasses on anything. This is just me pointing out, like, the Huskies are tough. They're deep. I think this is arguably the best West Coast team in the Big Ten this year. And I know the record is what it is. They have been incredibly damaged by injuries and held back by injuries, but this would have been Ohio State's best win of the season. Now, add it to the list of would-have, could-haves, and tough defeats that Ohio State, if you were going to win one of the two, like, Oregon's ship is sinking, and that a loss there would have hurt the resume more than a loss here. But you still had a chance to win this game, just like you had a chance to win the Nebraska game, just like you had a chance to win the Carolina game, just like you should have won the Pitt game. Like, go down the list, and I understand why fans feel the way they do and why they're frustrated. especially after a loss like this. Looking at something that Amari Bynum said to me that I thought was interesting. I said, like, I want to find this quote exactly. So he did talk about, like, I thought this was a neat phrase. He said, I felt like in that 14-0 run, he said, like, I felt like our aggressiveness changed a little bit. We usually have a meaner demeanor out there. We need to, like, patent the phrase meaner demeanor. I thought that, I've never heard that before. I like that. But he said, I felt that change a little bit. We felt the arena atmosphere change. I said, what was different tonight? You got pushed at times at Oregon, but you answered. But tonight, what was different? He said, keep tight huddles. He said, everybody be on the same page. Tonight, not everybody felt like they were on the same page, but we'll get it together. All of us being aggressive together. Some people might have been hesitating, but just staying the course. I thought that was interesting. I don't, like, when I talked to Diebler, he said he thought they played tough. He said, and this is where he brought it up. I didn't ask this, but he did bring this up. And I do think this is the line between excuse and reason is small, and ultimately a loss is a loss. But I did think Ohio State looked fatigued. I thought you saw that early in the second half when Washington found a gear and Ohio State couldn't answer it. I thought shots were getting a little short. Guys were not getting to offensive or defensive rebounds the way they had been earlier in the game. And when I asked Diebler about, like, is there anything that you had at Oregon that was lacking today, he pointed to that. He said, we got a little fatigued. He said, we didn't quite have some of the same pop there for stretches of the second half that we had the game before, but this is life in the Big Ten. I think fatigue got us a little bit. And with that came some execution errors we hadn't shown, and ultimately that was the difference. I asked Bruce Thornton about that, and he said, I said, you know, did you guys get fatigued? Like, you know, Jake said he kind of felt like that might have been something to do. You know, you're playing a man down, and, you know, third out of 4 games in the span of 9 days on the road. And Bruce said, for me, that's low-key an excuse. He said, that's what we signed up for. We came out west, and our goal was to go 2-0. That's our preparation. Despite us being on the road and being on the West Coast, he said they do the same thing, meaning, like, the Huskies travel too. He said, there's no excuses. You've got to find a way to win. And I think that's probably a good way to say it. Like, yes, there's reasons why this was a difficult, game for Ohio State. Who knows what it would have looked like had Christoph Tilly been available. But Washington was without 2 of its primary players, and you had a chance to secure a road win that would go high on the resume. And, you know, it's not a loss that's going to kill your resume. It's a quad 1 opportunity. But coming into this game, Ohio State was 4-4 in quad 1 and quad 2, 1-3 in quad 1, 3-1 in quad 2. So they'll drop to 1-4 in quad 1, and still a long way to go. Still a couple winnable games here on the immediate horizon for the schedule, but this feels like another one that just kind of slipped away, especially when you are winning a couple minutes in the second half. You feel like that's a game you should feel good about your chances going home with a win. Couple of thoughts going down the box score. I didn't feel like we talked a lot after the Oregon game, like Gabe Cupps and his contributions and him giving them 9 points off the bench and how important that was. Gabe did not take a shot in this game. He had a rebound and 2 fouls and an assist while playing 13 minutes and 46 seconds. Ohio State's bench production essentially came from Yvonne, who had, again, 4 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, 2 turnovers. He fill out the stat sheet a little bit there. But Colin White, in 7 minutes and 47 seconds, also did not take a shot. He had 2 rebounds. He had a foul. Diebler got on him for the foul afterward. It was late in the shot clock. Ohio State had quite a few of those, especially it felt like in the second half. And we saw some Tayson Chapman. First time in a minute, and in 5 minutes and 9 seconds off the bench, I thought he gave them something. He was 0 of 2. Both of his shots were threes, so he didn't score. He had 2 rebounds. He had 2 fouls. He had an assist. He had a steal. It was encouraging. I felt like you could see his length and his athleticism allowing him to have a little bit of an impact out there. And obviously we'll see where things go with Christoph Tilly and how healthy he is going forward. But being able to put a 6'4" guard out there for some stretches, I feel like would give Ohio State, would help make up for a little bit of the size that the Buckeyes would miss if Tilly's unable to play for any sort of period of time here. So I thought he flashed a little bit. Ultimately this was like I said, maybe we'll wrap it up here because otherwise I'm just going to keep, I feel like, repeating myself. But it's another missed opportunity for Ohio State. It's a game that was there for them. You felt like they had a legitimate chance to walk out of here with a win, to be 2-0 on this road trip, 4-0 on the road. And now, you go home, you try to get healthy, see what a couple of days of rest can do for Christoph Tilly, for Devin Royal. This was a weirdly officiated game. I will say that too. I mean, like I said, at the end, Ohio State is fouling in the last minute or so to stop the clock. I think there were only 10 fouls in the entire first half. There were 21 in the second half. And you had some weird moments where I saw the highlight very quickly making the rounds on social media, but Kapnang blocking Amari Bynum on an attempted fast break dunk. That was coming right at me. And I mean, he pretty clearly raked him across the head, and it was a block. It wasn't a foul, and that's fine. And then Gabe Cupps got called for a foul on the next possession at the other end where he didn't even touch the guy. He had his arms behind him on a leaning jumper and somehow got called for there were just some weird inconsistencies. And again, that has nothing to do ultimately, I don't think, with why one team won and one team lost. But I did not think Ohio State got the greatest whistle in this game. But they also didn't make enough shots. They didn't get enough rebounds, and they could have turned it over a few times fewer. One last stat that was interesting to me: Ohio State pulled down 17 offensive rebounds in this game. That ties for a season high, but it only had 12 second chance points. That feels kind of hard to do until you look and realize that the 17 offensive rebounds tie for a season high, like I said. And Buckeyes also pulled down 17 of their misses against Western Michigan back on November 20th. The Buckeyes only turned those 17 into 12 second chance points in that game too. Just thought that was weird. Thought that merited a mention on here. So now it's time to get out of here. I'm gonna wrap this up, get back to the hotel, and pack up and get ready to get back to Central Ohio. It's been a really fun trip. I was able to bring the family with me, and we pulled the kids out of school for a couple of days. See a whole new part of the country they had never been to before, and we saw some gorgeous sights and had some just awesome times as a family, just getting to see Seattle and drive through Portland and experience Eugene. And we drove up the 101 a little bit and saw the coast, and my youngest son got to touch the Pacific Ocean for the first time in his life. Some pretty cool core memories here that I think we're always going to have. So rode a lot, podcasted a lot, drove a lot. It's been a busy stretch here of a couple of days, but looking forward to getting back to life here in Central Ohio and seeing what comes of the week. So I'm not sure what the interview schedule will look like this week for Ohio State. If there'll be an emergency podcast to address a Christoph Tilly situation or something like that. There might be time to squeeze one in between now and the UCLA game on Saturday, but not promising one at this moment. I'm going to take a day off somewhere in there because it's been a grind for the players. 4 games in 9 days, 3 of them on the road. I'm a little tired too, so I'm going to try to get a day somewhere in here to recharge. But yeah, we're going to wrap this one up now and head back to the hotel and go pack up. So as always, you can send along your questions, your comments, your love notes, your hate mail, and otherwise constructive criticism to me at Adam Jardy on Twitter or ajardy@dispatch.com. Thank you again for listening. Thanks to our web staff, Bryce, Patrick, Scott, whoever is handling this one. Thank you guys for getting this published and getting it out there. I'll be back with you at the latest on Saturday, but potentially between now and then. So until we speak again, be kind, take care, and we'll talk soon.
Be sure and subscribe to the Buckeye Extra podcast in the iTunes Store, the Google Play Store, or on Stitcher.